Welcome to CrackTalk.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Dr. J here, and welcome to another wonderful episode of CrackTalk. And I can't wait to get into the nitty-gritty today because I got one of my favorite friends, one of my favorite people in real life, even though we're on camera. This guy has been a chiropractor for 20 plus years, helping people get out of pain, get well, live that wellness lifestyle. Dr. George Walker, he's the Chief Performance Officer, coaches 150 plus doctors on a daily basis. G. Walker, great to see you in the house today. Welcome to CrackTalk.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited about this.
Good.
One of your best guests.
Well, and the reason I got George on today, because I know he is an avid golfer, was an avid athlete. His son's crushing the freaking golf ball right now. I mean, You've always got stuff posted about him. And today's conversation is about athletes. And why athletes have to be checked by a chiro and get under chiropractic care. But George, before we start, for all of our listeners out there, I just want to ask you how you can pay us back for the wonderful information we're going to pay for. Please hit the subscribe button that below. Please like us on Facebook, follow us, share this podcast, because you never know how this information is going to impact somebody else's life. In this case, an athlete's life. Our premise, George, of doing this today, we want to educate people. We want to give, as being a doc, you want to give people good information, so they can take it into life and do something with it. Which leads me to the second one. We want to inspire people. The biggest thing, I know you're a huge advocate as well as me as a chiro, we want to inspire people to take back control of their health and be inspired that you can be the cause in the effect, and you can cause your body to be healthy and heal. Correct? And the last one is we're going to leave with some actionable action steps that just help people that have athletes that are sitting at home, maybe injured, maybe not injured, maybe they're post-injury right now, and they don't know what to do and how a chiropractic can help. So I got a little story to start with, just to kind of set us up, because I know you got some good juice today, is when we talk about athletes, it reminds me of 20 years ago when I got in this profession. I did not know that I was going to I knew I was going to a chiropractor. I didn't know what they did. And I was an athlete. I was a wrestler and always getting my head crunk on, my low back crunk on. And every time I had like a burner, sting, or whatever, I went to the chiropractor in my local town. And I remember something magic happened, or I saw an episode, or I saw a YouTube, but YouTube wasn't a thing 20 years ago. I don't know where I saw it. But it was Joe Montana, it was Jerry Rice, and who was the other guy? Steve Young. Steve Young. I think Steve Young might have been the backup. And they just won the Super Bowl. And they're interviewing Jerry Rice, man. And they're like, Jerry, what contributed to you guys winning the Super Bowl? He said, first, I want to say thanks to our secret weapon. And the place went quiet because at this moment, nobody knew what's the secret weapon. Right, George? And somebody, of course, would say, hey, what are you talking about? What's the secret weapon? He says, I want to give credit to our chiropractor that we have been going to this entire season to help each and every one of us perform at our top level. So, George, do you see that? I mean, I know you've watched the Lakers. I mean, you're a big Kobe Bryant guy. Do you see that chiropractic is mainstream right now in sports?
Absolutely. And when you talk about the secret weapon, I like how you put that one there, right? It really is a secret weapon that not a lot of people know that's contributing to your favorite sports stars, right? So you look at the highest level of athletes. I'm not talking about,
give me an example.
Tiger Woods, right? Tiger Woods talked about it.
Yeah.
He even talked about even having surgeries afterwards and how he wished he would have kept up that routine of chiropractic. Serena Williams, right? Tom Brady, the GOAT of the people.
Huge chiropractic advocate.
Huge. Aaron Rodgers, his dad is a chiropractor. So these types of people. So like your athlete's favorite athlete is seeing a chiropractor. That's the way I like to put it, right? Every NBA team has a chiropractor.
But let me ask you, why?
Well,
I mean, for our listeners, why are these athletes, it makes sense, they're getting beat up on the field or whatever, but why are they really going and seeing
It's not just about the beat up on the field. It's not about that.
Good.
It's about athletes are addicted to how I can perform at my optimal performance.
Especially if you're getting paid for it.
Yeah.
Like at pro level.
We're always trying to hack as athletes. What are things that I can do to get the edge on someone else? Like some of our favorite athletes that you and I talk about, they talk about when that person is sleeping, I want to be doing something different than they're doing. And if chiropractic can give me 1% better than my competition, that might be the difference between winning or losing your personal gain.
Well,
right?
think about 1%. I mean, we talk about the 50, 100-yard dash in the Olympics, right? We talk about Michael Phelps, who my kids were all competitive swimmers, were adjusted their whole career. We dealt with shoulder injuries. We dealt with low back. I mean, we were always manifesting correction and making sure their spine was aligned, following in the footsteps of the great. But here's the thing. When you're talking about 1%, most of those races are won by a 0.1 second or 0.01 second. Who is it? Shikari, the girl that's going to blow up the Lincolns, the 100-yard dash. I mean, they're right on top of each other.
Exactly.
Usain Bolt was kind of a little bit of a different situation, but he's still smoking people and always looking for that competitive edge. So for parents that are watching this, that, let's say their kids are in peewee leagues. I mean, the midget football, the helmets are bigger than their body. They're doing gymnastics. Maybe they're doing karate, wrestling, swimming, which is I did, and I'm dealing with cheerleading right now with my daughter. Should these parents be getting these children checked? I mean, from your experience, should they be going to the chiropractor? What is that all about?
Most people listening right now are like you and I.
Yeah.
You're parents of athletes. Right?
Yes.
And the parents of athletes, they practice all the time.
All the time.
They're getting hit. They're getting stretched. They're getting injuries, right? And they're going through the exact same things that we do. You mentioned my son playing golf. My daughter also a competitive athlete with swimming.
Oh, love it.
We know the difference between her getting adjusted before and after a competition makes a difference in how she competes for the rest of the season.
Wow.
Right? So not just, a lot of athletes talk about this word rehab. And rehab is after the fact. It's reactive. It's reactive.
Post injury.
Right?
Post injury
or chiropractic falls more into the prehab. How can I get my body ready before the competition?
You guys get that prehab.
So if you have an athlete here, and you're a parent of an athlete, even if you're a weekend warrior yourself, right?
Yeah.
And you're getting out there and you're starting to run, chiropractic prehabs you for optimal performance. That's what I tell all of my patients.
I love it. So if I'm playing rec league basketball, rec league softball, rec league baseball, or my kids, so the benefits are, when we say prehab, what it hits me is improved flexibility, improved range of motion, improved muscle, ligament, and tendon performance, right? And I want to go back to this. Why all of those things are possible is because what is the chiropractor actually doing? They're looking at the holistic body of the child or us as an adult playing sports, and they're saying, are any of these bones misaligned that are kind of interfering with the body's ability to heal and be well, which means the brain is sending messages down the spinal cord. We always like to remind our listeners, brain sending messages down the spinal cord, out the spinal nerves to every cell, tissue, and organ in your body.
Over 4 trillion reactions right now going on in our body.
You heard it right there. 4 trillion reactions that you're not even thinking about, your child's not even thinking about. So when you're talking about 1%, I think it's a little bit more than that. I think it's a 1% gain at the top level, because everybody's fit, everybody's fast, everybody's strong, everybody's smart, right? But at the high school, the middle school, the elementary school, you rec league guys out there, you're going to have a huge competitive advantage if your nervous system is intact, your muscles are firing, you have joint flexibility, right? Your ligaments and tendons are doing what they're supposed to do, right? Your range of motion is spot on. And each and every one of these things you've experienced can improve by going to the chiropractor.
Absolutely. You see it every single time. It's in tandem. So when you come to an office like Core, a beautiful office like this, not only are you getting your adjustments, but then you're getting your therapies that are specific to what you're dealing with, right?
Yes,
so I've been getting into running lately, right?
Yes, you've been hitting a marathon in every city.
Half marathons. I'm not there, but I'm training right now for half marathon. And you talk about there's different injuries that I'll have versus what you have.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
You just talked about, hey, that psoas might be tight on you, but it might be low back on me, right? So not only are you getting the adjustments, but in an office like a Core office, a Chiro One office, now what you're getting is you're getting specific to what you're dealing with on a day-by-day basis. That's what I love about it.
And that's important to listen to, because we always talk about where should somebody go to find the right chiropractor. And when we did pregnancy, we did epigenetics, we've done healthcare or heart care, and we specifically, when we did children and we did pregnancy, we said you need to find somebody in your community, get a recommendation. I would say the same thing with athletes. Find a chiropractor or get a recommendation for a chiropractor in your local community that has a track record of dealing with athletes. Because if they don't have a track record of dealing with athletes, it's not that they're good or bad. It's just they may not completely understand the sporting event and what's going on there and how to dynamically treat the patient, whether it's you or whether it's one of your children. I do want to transition though, because I just had an experience, and I don't know, and tell me if you ever had this. So my daughter comes home from competitive cheerleading. We're doing all kinds of watch. She's a side base or a main base. And they got all these terms. I'm learning cheer. I was raised in swim, learning cheer, right? It's one of the hardest sports I've ever seen. She's injured more. My kids, all three, went through swimming, 0 injuries. Just muscle here, ligament there, a little low back pain here and there from overuse. This cheerleading is, I'm telling you, any parent out there that's got a kid that's cheerleading, they have to be in the chiropractic office, because that's what's going to keep their body put together so they don't have long-term effects, long-term injuries that, in their 30s and 40s say, what in the heck has happened to me? But what I was saying is, she just the other night, George, and I always would tell patients, before you go to the ER, call our office. And I want everybody to hear that. You want to find a chiropractor that has that kind of latitude in their practice, that if you're going to say, hey, if my child has an injury, can we call you? Because each one of our offices, we know, are equipped with full-out X-ray, digital, so we can do we're not a replacement for the ER, but we are a replacement to see if there's an injury, right?
We'll call it this. The first line of defense.
First line of defense.
First line
I like
of defense.
it. Go
like
with
if something's happening, I roll my ankle, right? I think I might have.
You don't know if it's broken
or not. I want to come here first.
Yep.
Let's handle it conservatively before we are waiting at 3 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
At an ER.
Well, this just happened. Like I was saying, it's like my daughter comes home, collarbone. She thought she broke it. It was swollen. When I see things that are swollen, she moved her arm. She had a pinch right here. I was like, oh my God, it was 10:30 at night, George. And I said, let's go to the office. So we rode down to this office. I took the x-ray, found out it was just, she had a bone bruise. And now she put ice on it. It's a different rehab. But she said on the way home, and this is what I want everybody that's listening to this to have the benefit of finding the right chiropractor, so you can have this conversation right here. My daughter's traveling back with my wife and I, and she says, Dad, if you weren't a chiropractor and had that x-ray machine, I would have had to go to the ER like my friends, and they usually get out at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and they have to miss school the next day. Is that something you used to do for your patients?
All the time, right? Be there for them as the first line of defense, right? And then we'll refer out. We work with orthopedics. We work with
so if it's broken, right? you know where to send them.
Exactly.
I want everybody to hear that. So we're not talking about being a replacement for the ER or medicine, but we're talking about, hey, if you have a kid that you think is hurt, or if you think you've been hurt by playing that rec league, let us take a quick x-ray. We can usually pop it in, pop it out, and then we'll be able to identify, is it fractured or is it just a ligament injury? And then we'll be able to refer you right into the orthopedist or right into the appropriate provider versus going to the ER and waiting. Because there's nothing, I don't know how many of you ever done this? I don't know if you've done this. Sitting in the ER, I'm scared I'm going to get sick with 100 different diseases the longer I sit there.
Well, the secret is a broken collarbone is not a high priority in an ER either. So
it's actually a no priority.
You're going to wait.
It's like a broken fingernail in most cases. So we talked about this. I want to break our athletes into different groups. You had it, prehab. If your child or you are playing sports and you are an athlete or your child is an aspiring athlete, no matter where they're at, they need to be getting checked on a frequent basis and then seeing if their spine is eligible to be adjusted and what they're dealing with, keeping them in tip-top shape. This is what the pros are doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If the child is injured or you're injured, get into the chiropractic office. Have them take x-rays. Have them do a full orthopedic neurological exam, because we're just as qualified as an orthopedist, right? We taught all this stuff in school.
Absolutely.
Okay? I mean, with my daughter, I adjust her about every other day. Wrist, shoulders, hips, low back, mid back, neck. I mean, just keeping her up to speed.
Absolutely.
Right? And then post-injury.
Yeah. So post-injury is important, right? Because
tell me about it.
How do you want to recover? Have you ever seen some of those retired athletes? And they're walking around and they're limping around, right? And shout out to Kenny Smith on NBA, inside the NBA, right? But you watch him walk, and he's walking like he got beat up because, again, the pain wasn't there.
Yes.
But did they rehab and prehab their body beforehand? And now you have to go to rehab. Now the injury's already happened, right? And so we want a holistic approach to it. We want your body when you're 50, 60, 70 years old, when you're telling those stories, those I call them Al Bundy stories, remember? And
you're still ready to take them out back.
Yeah, you're ready to take it out back, and you're talking about how you used to do. Your body doesn't demonstrate that. You don't want to be an old.
Everybody hear that. That means your body still appears as if it can throw the ball, shoot the basketball, you can walk, function.
You can move, you can do whatever you'd love to do.
When you just said that, this brought me to this. Did you see in your practice a difference in injury rehab or long-term effects with your patients as they shortened or lengthened the gap between injury and care?
Recovery. You're talking recovery, right?
Like how quick, so if somebody got injured, if they lengthen the time before they get care, the injury becomes more prevalent, more scar tissue. If they shorten, and I want everybody to hear this, the quicker you identify, like last night when my daughter said, hey, my collarbone, boom, right to the office, because I need to know right now, I want to shorten the time, because the quicker you get something treated, and I want you to confirm this.
Movement, set, and in the right place.
Boom. They heal faster. And then the biggest thing with young athletes, because I'm beat up from the floor up, dude. My low back, it's another reason I didn't let my kids play football, and I absolutely love football, is because in the office, cheerleaders, and my daughter cheers, and it was a no-no for years, and my boy actually ended up playing football. But one year, won a state championship, 11-0, was amazing. He was the punter. That was the one position I allowed him to play because he would get beat up. But we see these children now come into as adults, and they're beat up. Their necks are messed up. Their low backs are messed up. And have you ever seen a chiropractor before? No. Why? I wasn't in that much pain. This is a very, very prevalent epidemic. So you have these little young people from midget league all the way up, no matter what they're playing, and they've never been in the chiropractic office, never made sure that their spine was unsubluxated or adjusted back into position, never checked for scoliosis. Their other accessory joints were never checked to see if they're aligned. And then they're coming in 30s and 40s and they're falling apart. Did you witness this?
Every time, because they're experiencing the three things that cause what we're looking for, that subluxation.
Give it to me.
You got traumas in sports, right? And you're playing
All
football,
the time.
Getting hit, right?
Yes.
You got your thoughts, right? Is it stressful playing sports? Is
yes.
it stressful trying to get an 11-0 team all
Especially
the time?
Especially it's game day, baby.
Is it stressful doing your homework after school and then practice and practice and practice, right? So you got your thoughts, and then you get toxins, right? And so a lot of times those toxins are things like muscle relaxers, things like injections.
Well, isn't this what they usually give
it's huge,
kids that hurt?
So I have pain, injection, go back out there and play the whole Friday Night Lights thing that we talked about, right? Like, get out. I want to push through the pain. Steroid use is a big one that we see in a lot of young athletes too. So then you have these toxins in your system, and your body doesn't know what to do, right? And so we want your body playing at the purest level. Right? And being able to perform, and that's why athletes will benefit the most.
100%. And so if the pros are doing it, this is what when I heard the story about Jerry Rice, it transitioned my thought. If the pros are doing at the top level to get a 1% delta or a 1% gain, if we do it with our children, and I was adamant with my children, if you're an athlete, you're getting treated. We had a tremendous amount of athletes coming into this practice. I know you did too. Your son's getting treated. Your daughter's getting treated, right? It's not optional. And the cool thing about being a chiropractic or a child of a chiropractor is you get to get treated more frequently. But I would challenge everybody listening to this. If you are dealing with an athletic injury that was 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, find a great referral and get into their office and get your spine checked. Have them do a full consultation, a full eval, have them take x-rays and see if you're eligible and if your injury is eligible to be treated in their office.
And don't wait until pain. Can I add on something to that?
Add something.
Don't wait until you're feeling that you're in pain. I don't think a lot of people.
Why is that important? Why is that? That's a key point.
Right?
Yeah.
The nervous system, right? Those 4 trillion reactions. Only about 20% are for pain.
Wow.
Only about 20% of your nervous system perceives pain. About 40% is their autonomic nervous system. So that's your blood pressure, your breathing, the things that, if you had to tell your heart to beat over and over again, how annoying would that be?
I couldn't do it.
So you have 40% autonomic, you have 20% pain, and then the rest of it is for movement.
Wow.
Right? And so if you wait until pain shows up, your body is functioning 20 to 40% of its capabilities. We're not even talking about 1%. And so if we're waiting until pain shows up, as you just say, get checked. Like, get checked.
Yeah.
Everyone should get their spine checked
Get
at
your kid
least
checked.
once a year.
You
if
need
you're
to get
active,
checked. Yes.
If you're active,
Yeah.
twice a year, 3 times a year, the higher the level activity, the more likely you're going to need what we got.
100%.
Period.
The miracles that we see in our offices is incredible for athletes. You see athletes that aren't that fast, their reaction time picks up. Their flexibility is low, their flexibility turns on. They're having a little bit of a range of motion issue because they're on text neck all the time. You know, they're on their cell phones looking like this, right? And we start restoring that curve into their cervical spine. They start getting range of motion. They start having a higher IQ on the playing field, whatever the playing field is. Is it in the pool? Is it karate class? Is it on the football field, soccer field, whatever? You see the improvement. And you know, here's the deal, George, we're dads at the end of the day.
Sure.
We love sports. We want our kids to be the best, right? I think if you don't want your kid to be the best, you're not parenting right. We all want our kids to be better than we were, and we want to give them the best opportunity to do that. And I just am passionate, and you probably come across, he's passionate, I'm passionate about this. That's why today's the topic is, I'm passionate about young athletes being in the chiropractic office before they're injured. If they get injured, getting checked to see if it's an injury that the chiropractor can treat. If not, we'll refer you out. Absolutely. And post-injury, if they need rehab, and we can do the rehab, being in the 4 walls of our offices is probably one of the best places they can be to help facilitate healing that injury and giving them a lifetime of lack of pain. Because I wish I would have known this when I was in my 14, 15 years of age. I would have been in the chiropractor more office or in the chiropractic office more, because when I hit 23, you know the story. I herniated my L5 disc. It has plagued me at 46 years of age. I still am having problems with it. I got to watch how much I lift at the gym. This little injury that I say little, that was minor, at age probably 14, 15, left uncorrected, 23, couldn't walk for 2 weeks, just got engaged. It was a really big issue. I couldn't do anything without my wife, but fiance at the time helping me. Embarrassing moments, by the way. And I wouldn't wish that on anybody. And I just remember the only thing that got me out of it, I was getting adjusted twice a day for about 6 months. And even after 6 months, it took me to only 70% improvement. Wow. And I still live with that injury today, but have never had to have surgery. I take 0 medication for it. I want anybody that's listening to this, first of all, you don't want your child to end up like me. Yeah. Right? And if anybody that's on rec league or you're listening to this, you're like, oh my God, dude, my knee is just like his low back, or my shoulder is just like his low back, or my neck feels. Get into the chiropractic office, because the detriment, and one of the biggest things we ring the bell on in our office is unintentional opiate abusers. See, nobody ever intends to be an oxycodone addict or a Percocet, Darvocet, pain medication addict. And we're dealing with this is kind of like an underlying, I didn't expect to get into this today, but there's an underlying thing. When you have an injury and you hurt and you go into a medical provider, they are going to hand you a pain medication that is highly addictive. This is happening all day long. So you got Susie, you got me. If I was just to do that, they would give me oxycodone, they would give me Percocet, Darvocet, some muscle relaxers, and then sooner or later, they say after 5 years of use of this, you become an addict. Your brain becomes addicted to the substance. And I can't even tell you the countless amount of families that have been affected just in our community by, and I want you to hear these words right, unintentional opiate abusers. People like you and I, George, that have loving wives, loving families, sustained a sports injury. Mine was specifically a sports injury, sustained a freaking sports injury, and have lived with it. And I am glad I had chiropractic in my life, because I could have been on the other side of the tracks, as they say.
2 tracks. 2 roads to
go. You know what I mean?
For the listener out there, it's a simple question. How do you want your body to function?
Great.
Not to feel like, but how's your body functioning? When you wake up in the morning, is it creaky, right? Yeah. Do you have to rev yourself up? Are you able to do the things you want to do?
Yes.
How's your energy? How's your energy levels? How's your sleep levels? It's a whole encompassing, and that's what athletes are into. Athletes function. They're looking for that edge.
They're looking for that at the top
edge, right?
So if the pros are doing it, we need to be doing it. I need to be doing it. Little peewees need to be doing it. So I hope everybody got a lot out of this. Thank you, G. Walker, for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
And
I appreciate it.
Just want to remind everybody, thank you for listening to the next episode of Crack Talk, why your athlete needs to be checked. And if you're an athlete, why you need to be checked and be receiving chiropractic care if you're eligible. Once again, please, if you like this information,
like and subscribe, baby.
Like it, subscribe, share it. Share it with the football team. Share it with your soccer team. Put it in the moms group, the moms chat, the dads chat, because every child needs to be given the best opportunity to have their brain communicating with their spine, out the spinal cords, so they function optimally and they have their best chance in life. Thanks again, George Walker, and thank you all for listening for an episode of Crack Talk.